We're joined here today by well-known radio personality Pete Braley. And Pete, it's great to see you.
Thank you, Paul.
Well, you know, it's interesting because when I think of adversity, and I don't like to talk about adversity a lot, but we all have to deal with it. We're both sports fans, and we hear about, oh, that team came back from adversity. I'm thinking, compared to Pete Braley, there is no adversity on the team. I mean, you're cruising along, you're working your job at BSM. You end up losing the job at BSM,
Yep.
and then shortly after that, a stroke. I mean, that's a tough stretch for Pete Braley.
Yeah, there's been a few things along the years. There's been like shoulder replacements, knee replacements. I have a metabolical disorder that causes the cartilage in my joints to disappear. So I have that. There's a book coming out about that, by the way,
Right.
if I ever finish it. But yeah, I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. It was February 27th or something. It was probably 5 below. And I start walking down the stairs, and I felt like the flu was coming on. And then I got dizzy, and one thing led to another. That was the stroke. But then it's funny. My wife says the first thing I said to the guy was, "I don't have time for that. I got to walk my daughter down the aisle," which was coming up in September of that year. And yeah, that was the beginning of, I guess, a long road.
Well, I always thought it was moving to hear this thing about your daughter's wedding because, you know, obviously every father wants to walk the daughter down the aisle. I don't have daughters myself, but I know that's a big thing for a father.
Walk your son down. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, you know, things are changing all the time.
That's
you know?
right. You know, it's a normal out there, you know.
Yeah, right. So, you know, we were reading about it and we were thinking, wow, I hope he makes it. I hope he makes it. And you did.
Yeah, I did. The stroke happened in February. My daughter got married in September, and that was my goal. My physical therapist said, "You're not going to need that." And I thought he was crazy at the time. I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "You're going to walk her down the aisle without that cane." And that became our goal. And I did have a cane at the back of the church and the front of the church, but I didn't need it. So I kind of leaned on her. Yeah, she's pretty strong.
Yeah,
so.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, what is it like, you know, going about your business, like, you know, people are going about their business, and then all of a sudden, you know, you have difficulty moving a limb, you had difficulty speaking, I know, for a while. It's your livelihood to be
Yep.
able to speak. Must have been really horrifying.
It was. It was also a goal to get back on the radio, which I did accomplish last March, I think it was.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I ended up doing a show. I do have some difficulties. I still stutter at times. There were times when I wondered if it was going to come back. It was scary. It was scary, you know.
I know you were on WBSM for 25 years in the morning, and, you know, broadcasting can be kind of a business that can surprise you at times. In fact, I remember one time Pete and I were working at a station, and one day they came in and they changed the format to country. Everybody was like,
Do you know what?
you didn't get the country accent down, did
But you know what? I love country music now.
Yeah, now you came around.
I have 2 children that live in Virginia.
Yeah.
And my 2 oldest live in Virginia Beach, and that's all they listen to down there. And Luke Bryan and Blake Shelton, I love that stuff. Of course,
Music's a little different,
If
too.
I loved it, yeah, it was a little more twangy 25 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You didn't do the howdy as Pete
Oh,
Braley.
no,
Nothing. I
no,
couldn't change
no.
it. Yeah, this way to say right.
No cowboy hat. No.
But anyway, the point is broadcasting can be a difficult business in the sense that it can change on a dime. And obviously, they made the decision at WBSM to let you go after 25 years. What was that like, and what happened there?
I'll be honest with you, it hurt. It really did. I finished my show on a Friday, and I finished it at 10, and I got called into the manager's office at 10:15, and as he closed the door and went to his desk, he said, "Whew, this is going to be tough." And that was my first thinking that something's up. And he sat down and he said, "We have decided to do away with the position of manager of WBSM." At that point, because I was the program director.
Yes.
So at that point, I thought that they were taking away my management job, which would have been okay because there were a lot of headaches, and just going to have me do the show. And maybe there would be a pay cut. But then he slid a separation agreement in front of me. And I stopped and I said, "Did I just do my last show?" And he said, "Yes." To this day, I've never been given a concrete answer. I think it was salary. What amazed me was the feedback that I got. Mayor Mitchell, Mayor Lang, Mayor Kalis, they were all on the phone with me that night. Mm-hmm. And it was an overwhelming response. Someone came up to me yesterday and said, we used to listen to your show every morning getting the kids up. And, I miss it. And it was a very difficult chapter.
I imagine. But now you're doing a lot of stuff. I mean, obviously, you started writing for the Standard Times.
Yeah.
Totally different kind of thing. But it's interesting because I see the articles that you write, and I'm thinking, wow, must be fun to be able to say, you know what, I got this thing in my mind, and I want to talk about it, and I have this forum to do so.
It's funny because the Standard Times reached out to me, if not the night I was fired, that weekend. And they said, would you still like to have a voice in the community? And I said, of course. So I did the Sunday column, and we have a joke in my house that every Monday or Tuesday I say, hon, I don't know what I'm going to write about this week. And she laughs because I guess I say that every week.
And then you come up with something.
And then something comes up. What I learned in my first year with the paper was whatever I'm thinking about, that's what I should write about. Mm-hmm. Whatever's top of mind is what I go with. I might write about this. I might tell everybody about your palatial studio.
Yeah, you have to use some hyperbole than that to pull out the 50-cent word.
My podcast studio is my dining room. I have a kitchen chair that has my mixer on it and cords running everywhere, so don't worry about it.
Well, now you're doing a podcast. Something like the audio of what this is. This is a video version of, but you're doing the audio. Radio is your gig.
By the way, the audio of this video is going to appear on the podcast.
All right, great. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
It's called cross promotion.
Yeah, cross promotion. Exactly. PeteBraley.com.
Yes.
And we've got PaulSantosLive.com. So you got something to horse around with when you got the laptop open.
The podcast was something that when I got back on the radio on WPLM, it's a music station, Easy 99.1. And there were some people that said, it's great to hear you, but I want to hear more. You can only talk for, 12 seconds here, 29 seconds here, 2 minutes here.
So remember, we worked at a station years ago where you introduced the song and you were done for 20 minutes.
Exactly. And
so you had to stay awake. You're like, give me a cup of coffee or something.
I'm not complaining. I mean, that's the way it is. And people like their music, and that's great. So, but the podcast gives me a chance to basically do whatever I want. I mean, I think you could even swear if you want to.
Right.
But I don't.
Yeah, right. You and I were in our 50s. We're from another era, But to be able to go on the internet, whether it's a podcast or whether it's this forum, you can do whatever you want. We answer to nobody. It's like I was thinking to myself at the end of this thing, it can say produced, directed, edited, lit, everything.
Yeah. He set the lining before we started. Yeah.
So in the podcast, like produced by Pete Braley, directed by Pete Braley, edited by Pete Braley,
technical assistant provided by Pete Braley. Yeah.
So you can say, this guy really knows his stuff. But I know.
Thank God though, my 18-year-old son set up the website.
Right. So that helps you out.
Too many things for me to think of.
But it is a lot of fun to look at something and say, gee, I want to see if I can, like when I said one day, I said, I think I'm going to get Pete Braley, hopefully he'll come, I get this little studio, I said, Pete Braley, it'd be interesting to talk to. So here he is. So you come into my office and they're like, hey, is that the guy that writes the column? I'm like, yeah, that's him.
That was the first time that that I was recognized as, is he from the Standard Times?
Yeah, usually it's the radio guy.
Usually they remember the radio.
Yeah, so the secretary here in my law office is like, isn't that the guy that writes the article? I'm like, that's him. That's him.
There's a country song about that,
there is?
Time marches on. See?
Wow.
Time marches on. Things change.
No question about it.
Yeah.
There are so many interesting people to talk to and so many interesting topics. Yeah. I mean, the list goes on forever.
I'm always looking for stories. And to be honest with you, the theme, I guess, of my podcast is just life. What happens to me in life, you in life, and these people that I've met. I'd love to, come up with one every week or two a week. But really, it's just like whenever it happens, it happens. But so far, that's okay.
Well, I had somebody on here who claims he was abducted by a UFO.
Yes, I saw that.
Oh, you did see that one? So
that was a, 3-part series?
Yeah, so no, one day. Well, I'm glad you noticed there was a 3-part series. Yeah. One day I'm walking through court, right? And somebody that was sitting on the bench went, hey, where did you get that guy from the UFO? So anyway, I mean,
isn't it funny what people remember?
Yeah, they remember the UFO guy. Yeah. But anyway, hey Pete, we really appreciate you stopping by. I know you've gone through a lot of stuff and you've bounced back and you're alive and well. I hate to use that term alive and well. That means we're old. It's like, whatever happened to Santos? He's alive and well.
One thing I learned is we're not alone, as far as people that go through life with pain and issues. And, there aren't too many people that talk about it or that make light of it. I do tend to make light of it because, you're either going to do that or crawl over and cry.
Right. Well, I mentioned to you I had a bad back surgery, and I was in miserable pain for 2 months, and I'm still in pain now, worse than before. I remember thinking, well, geez, if Pete Braley can get through his thing, I can get through my thing.
Well,
so
thank you.
You're definitely a little bit of an inspiration. But keep up the good work with the podcast. Keep having fun, and hopefully we'll have you on again. You can be like that. The old shows, they always had like the regular guests that would come back.
Where are they now? Oh, yeah. You know what?
A couple times a year, they bring Braley back, kind of thing.
I always thought they did that because somebody else canceled.
Well, no. We have you at the top of the list.
Oh, okay.
So we'll keep you there for now.
Okay.
Pete, thanks again.
Thanks,
Take
Paul.
care. All right.